So the scene was set for a fascinating encounter. Would United hold their nerve? Could Millwall pull off the biggest shock in FA Cup final history? Your match commentators are Ray Clements and Peter Brackley.
Hello everyone, and with the Millennium Stadium standing by then to erupt to the nerve-tingling sounds of a full-throated roar, I wonder how many of the multi-millions of viewers tuning in around the world, 158 countries in all, how many could possibly have envisaged when this season's competition got underway that unfashionable Millwall will be here in these sumptuous surroundings, preparing to take on the might of Manchester United. Never mind Sunderland in 73, Southampton in 76, West Ham in 1980, Wimbledon in 88. If the team from South-East London, featuring in their first ever major cup final, overcome the enormous odds stacked against them today and succeed, it would have to rank as the mother of all FA Cup final upsets. Well, let's confirm the lineup set today, starting with Manchester United. Sir Alex Ferguson had really only a couple of selection problems to resolve once Roy Keane was declared fit. Darren Fletcher has won the place alongside the skipper rather than Phil Neville. And in goal, the manager prefers American Tim Howard to Roy Carroll. No Louis Saha, of course, he's cup-tied. But such attacking flair with the likes of Ruud van Nistelrooy, Cristiano Ronaldo, Paul Scholes and Ryan Giggs.
Yes, no real surprises there. I suppose it's in the middle of the field, really. But you look at that, it's full of creative players. Ronaldo, Darren Fletcher loves to get forward from that position. Roy Keane will sit there. Giggsy will certainly test Marvin Elliott, the young right-back for Millwall. So it's a very attacking lineup in which Alex Ferguson feels that he can actually get at Millwall.
Well, just as Roy Keane is considered such a key midfield ingredient for United, so too is Dennis Wise, vital to Millwall's strategy, such a spiky influence. And great news for them, he's come through that late fitness test and plays. The absence of Danny Dichio through suspension is a big loss for them, though. Lone striker Neil Harris now carries Millwall's main threat up front, but with Paul Ifill and dynamic Australian Tim Cahill, the chief support coming through.
Yes, certainly. And you look at Livermore and Wise, the holding players in midfield. They're going to be very, very important to Millwall. It'll allow Sweeney, it'll allow Paul Ifill to get forward. He's scored 6 or 7 goals this year already, I think. Tim Cahill is their top goal scorer. He'll support Neil Harris. And what a fantastic day for Neil Harris. All the problems he's had in his career, and here he is playing the Wembley Cup final. Great day for all of them, but I bet it's going to be one heck of a battle to start off with.
Well, seeing off the likes of Van Nistelrooy, Giggs, Ronaldo, Scholes will be tough enough for Millwall, and even if they do succeed, United still have Anagula Solskjaer on the bench, along with Nicky Butler, Jemba. What a contrast. Millwall starts include, well, youngsters really, including striker Mark McCammon. Here's Jeff Winter here in his final game then, as a senior referee after 18 years on the national list. Well, there we are, that's the bonding, maybe the Wimbledon spirit coming to the fore again. Dennis Wise will be very keen to engender that again.
Yes, it was Dennis Wise that pulled them all together. There's a few last words from Dennis. I'm sure part of that will be enjoy the day. How many times you get to FA Cup final, especially if you're playing for Millwall. So go out and enjoy it. Compete, make it difficult for Man United. Try to stop them playing the fluent football they like to, and who knows.
Well, the Millwall fans are certainly here to enjoy the day, and one banner I think summed it up over on the far side there. It said prawn sandwiches 0, jelly deals 1. That's their prediction. Ruud van Nistelrooy, who's been so prolific in the FA Cup, 10 goals so far in a United jersey since he's come to Old Trafford. 5 doubles, in fact. He's got 2 twos in the FA Cup run to this year's final. Princes against Paupers. It will be Millwall to get us underway in their all-blue strip with the white sleeves. Neil Harris, who will then be the one outright striker. Dennis Wise very keen to get in on the action. And I think his first tackle, Ray, could be very interesting.
I think there'll be a few tackles in this first 20 minutes because, as I say, Millwall really know in their heart of hearts they're not going to outplay Manchester United, but if they can get in and around them, upset their rhythm, then who knows?
Here's Livermore. He'll be one of the 2 holding players in midfield, along with Dennis Wise. Now Robbie Ryan. This, we believe, is to be his last game for the club. He's out of contract and has rejected the offer of a new one-year deal. But of course, he's very much in the shop window this afternoon around the world. Mikhail Silvestre. And then to Roy Keane, who himself had been an injury doubt in the early part of the week. He's not played too much, certainly, since the semi-final. Here's 19-year-old Peter Sweeney. Darren Ward will be in tandem with the skipper Lawrence at the back in central defence. Can they keep a tight rein on the likes of Van Nistelrooy and Ronaldo and Scholes?
To be fair to Millwall, they've started off. They haven't panicked. They've strung 5 or 6 passes together. They've stroked it around. They haven't just got it forward. I mean, to be fair to Dennis Wise, that's the way him and Ray Wilkins wanted them to play all year. But to come out in a big game like this and to start stroking it around this first couple of minutes shows that they are in charge of their nerves. They are in control of themselves, and it's a promising start for Millwall.
Here's Ronaldo. Really has been bubbly of late, so sparkling down the flanks. Ray Wilkins, who of course will be a commander-in-chief on the sidelines, in conversation there with Kevin Muscat. They'll miss Muscat too, won't they, with his experience?
Well, they will. Obviously, Kevin Muscat's played in big games as an international player. He's a competitive player, as many people have found out to their cost over the years. So certainly he will be missed, but I'm sure he'll be a big help on that touchline in the dressing room.
Ronaldo with those trickling feet. Now Gary Neville, playing in his 4th FA Cup final. Well, the tackle was just mid-time then by David Livermore.
I think he missed with the first tackle here, but I think he got him with the second. Didn't catch him with that, but got him with the trailing leg. So yes, quite right there for him.
Well, he's a very strong tackling player, is David Livermore. Began life at Arsenal and Highbury, didn't make the breakthrough with them. But, well, here he is now in the cup final with Millwall. Giggs and Scholes. I've seen this one before, you know. That is not the accident it may look. Here's John O'Shea. But Millwall kept their composure, kept their guard at the back. Now Silvestre playing alongside Wes Brown with O'Shea on the left and Gary Neville at right back. Here's Fletcher. I think he revels in this midfield role, the central role that he's got this afternoon, which is always the cue for a mistake.
I think the other good thing that Millwall have done in these opening minutes is that they haven't gone gung-ho trying to chase and win the ball in Manchester United's half. When Manchester United have got possession of the ball, they've just dropped back into their set positions. They've got those 5 players across the middle and they made it difficult for United to break them down.
It was a biting challenge then, though, by Roy Keane. Here's Ronaldo. Dangerous ball swung in as well for Van Nistelrooy. Wasn't far away. United slipping quickly into gear.
Yes, there's a good ball in here from Ronaldo, and Van Nistelrooy just gets in front of Matt Lawrence there. He's going to have to be quicker than that, because don't give Van Nistelrooy too many chances like that, because he doesn't miss the target very often. But certainly there, got in front of Matt Lawrence. Good headed, but just wide.
Well, Ray Wilkins was saying beforehand the key really is retention of the ball for Millwall. They can't give it away too cheaply, or they really will be punished. Obviously United superior in terms of class and quality, but boy, this Millwall team will fight and show their commitment, show their teeth. Albeit against a wounded tiger really in Manchester United, after their failures in the Champions League and in the title race. Dennis Wise will take this free kick. Rather a chain one though. Here's Giggs on the rebound, finding Van Nistelrooy. Well, the pitch is in immaculate condition, but maybe just a little greasy on top. As Van Nistelrooy will confirm. Here's Neil Harris, the player who's made such an amazing recovery from serious illness to rebuild his career. A lot on his shoulders though today, without Dicchio up front. Here's Darren Fletcher, the young Scottish international. Now Ronaldo. So full of tricks, so much sorcery from him on the flank, but a little more selective these days. A bit less of a show pony, more of a thoroughbred. Foul by, I feel, on O'Shea. Quite sure why.
He's a little bit unfortunate there because his foot was high, but he made contact with the ball. To be fair, O'Shea had his foot up as well. So it was 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Up comes Gary Neville. Linking with Fletcher. Now Ronaldo. Here's Brown playing in his first major final. And having had, of course, such a nightmare time of late with injuries. Here's Scholes, a real danger. Now Fletcher. United prepared to be patient. Keane to Fletcher again. Should be Ryan's. Well, goal kick anyway. So they kept their shape there, Millwall. Everybody back via Harris really behind the ball.
Well, that's what they've got to do. They've just got to try and fill those midfield areas and stop United playing through them. And eventually there, Darren Fletcher got frustrated, tried the ball inside the fullback from Ronaldo, but unfortunately he didn't read the ball that was going through. And Roy Keane gave Fletcher a little telling off, saying, be patient, try and drag them out of positions, and the openings will occur for us.
Of course, Alex Ferguson losing today is simply not an option. Already a record 4 times a winner. Here's Keane. Very much the fulcrum in midfield. John O'Shea. Another featuring in this game for the first time. Keane to Neville. 2 players with rather more experience. Here's Scholes. Well, as we anticipated, nearly all United possession. Well, that is a trip, surely, is it? No, Jeff Winter says play on. Fletcher, now then to Ronaldo. 3 in the middle for United, including Van Nistelrooy. Oh, so neatly done then. And in goes Scholes. Well, if anything, it was a missed kick then from the England man. Now it's O'Shea. But such impudence, such improvisation then from Ronaldo. And Millwall were nearly undone.
Well, they were when Ronaldo crossed that ball in with that fancy footwork over on that far touchline. I think to myself, Alex Ferguson won't be too happy with that. But all of a sudden, a chance did occur for Scholes at the far post, and he just totally missed his kick.
Scholes, who has scored 4 times in the FA Cup so far this season. By his very high standards, that will certainly go down as a miss. You could do with a goal or 2 from him for England, couldn't you, in Euro 2004? He's not scored for nearly 3 years now for his country.
That's right. It would be nice for him to get himself a goal or 2 goals today to boost his confidence with what's coming up.
That was Marvin Elliott, just playing it back to Andy Marshall. Elliott, who is not really a right back, but without Muscott, without Andy Roberts, who's also on the sidelines. Well, that's his role today, rather than in midfield. Fletcher on to Scholes. United didn't full flow, but again, a weak finish from Scholes.
Yeah, Scholes is frustrated. You know, he didn't catch that right, and he knew also that Giggs was on his left-hand side. With probably a simpler pass would have put Giggs right into the penalty area. And as soon as he hit it, he apologised to Giggs for not giving him the ball. But that was just a little bit of frustration from him, maybe because he hasn't scored for so long. Here's the opportunity for Scholes at the far post. What about that for a bit of skill? Lovely flick on by Giggs, and a total miss kick by Scholes. I'm sure you can't believe that.
The individual skill then of Ronaldo, so much to admire, but not so the finishing of Scholes, who's lucky to be playing in this game. If you remember, he just about escaped a sending off in a league match against Chelsea recently, and he'd been dismissed. He wouldn't have played in this match. Offside here, Harris.
Yes, no dispute that.
It's going to be tough for him,
just
isn't it?
warned him there, to be fair. Yeah, Jeff Winter just warned Harris there, having that shot. Next time you do that, I'll book you.
Yes, Ronaldo in the last league game against Villa was actually sent off And he collected a second yellow, wasn't he, for kicking the ball away in that fashion. Sensible refereeing, though, really, by Jeff Winter, I think. Maybe taking the occasion into account. Here's Ryan. Says he's only got one plan to deal with Ronaldo. No plan B. If I can kick him, I will. How do you stop Ronaldo? That's the quiz question for Robbie Ryan, the Irish left back for Millwall.
Well, I think Robbie Ryan has dealt with every wide man the same all year, and he won't change that today.
They've had a few uncompromising left backs at Millwall down the years. Harry Cripps, I remember, back in the 60s. He was probably the most feared of the lot. Here's Scholes now, on to Keane. Now then to Fletcher, seeing plenty of the ball early on. Ryan Giggs, back in his hometown today. And Ifield kept his cool, and it will be a goal kick and respite for Millwall.
No, he did well there, following the run of O'Shea.
Here's that chance again that almost came the way of Harris, and in fairness to him, he's onside there, look, when it's played through.
Yes, Wes Brown trying to step up, and he was late. To be fair, he was late, but the linesman on this near side decided that it was offside, but certainly the pictures there show that he was level.
He's got a useful goal-scoring record too, as Neil Harris. He's got 10 this season. Of course, his career was interrupted by testicular cancer. Here's Gary Neville with a throw then for United, seeking their foothold in this FA Cup final. It was awkward then for O'Shea, a little careless from Wes Brown. Not quite back to his sharpest yet, Brown, but certainly signs that he's on the way in the last few league games after a pretty torrid start when he first returned to the team after injury. Just missed out, of course, on Euro 2004 with England. Elliott to Wise. Now Harris. Well, they will have to support him as much as they can. Just hope they can sneak a goal, Millwall. Roy Keane. The first man in the modern day to play in 6 FA Cup finals. What an inspiration he has been to Manchester United. Ronaldo to Fletcher. Cleared away by Matt Lawrence. Now Giggs. Ronaldo just teasing Lawrence, who stood his ground well though. How his season has been transformed. Matt Lawrence early on under Mark McGee, the previous manager. He was out of favour and virtually told to find a new club. Here he is now, skippering the team in Cardiff. Keane with a glorious ball then for Giggs. It could be in here. Oh, if Marshall had got that wrong then.
Well, to be fair to Andy Marshall there, he did very, very well in the end, because when that ball was played, he made his mind up to come for it, and it was never his ball. Giggs was always going to be first to it, and he's just drawn his hands away there as he went to commit at Giggs' feet. And in the end, it was good goalkeeping, but his first decision, he was never ever going to get there. But you see him there, just take his hands away, so he can't make any contact with Giggs, otherwise it's a penalty.
Well, it was a real scare then for Millwall and for Andy Marshall, player they signed recently from Ipswich Town after a loan spell. Coming in as cover for Tony Warner, the man who, along with Kevin Muscat, led the team out today. Warner still injured, and Willie Gure, the man from Guadeloupe, is the substitute goalkeeper. Neville's long ball. Is it too long for Van Nistelrooy? Only just. Some alert defending then by Lawrence. Livermore to Dennis Wise. Elliott to Cahill. He can't be very much the danger man for Millwall if they can get him into threatening situations.
Well, he's the one more than anybody else who's got to get up and support Neil Harris whenever he can. But of course, for him to do that, Millwall needs to string a number of passes together to allow him to get forward. If they keep playing it from long distances from the back four, the distances are too big for Cahill to get up and support Harris.
Rash challenge, that's why calls goals. Lashing out at Lawrence, who will take this free kick himself. Bit of frustration shown then by Scholes. So far so good for Millwall with 15 minutes gone. Was Keane back defending. Goes Ifield, who's pretty nippy, pretty quick down this right side, but now he'll have to come tracking back. Scholes. The challenge again by Lawrence. The two Trent centre-halves were outstanding in the semi-final. The win over Sunderland really paved the way for their victory. In the end, they're placed in the final, earned through a goal from Tim Cahill. Does make a lot of well-timed runs through from midfield. Huge interest, I'm sure, back home in Australia for him. Indeed, many of his family and friends have been flown over at his expense, I gather, to be here in Cardiff today. Ronaldo. Now Sylvestre. Get Millwall just happy to sit back, hope to soak it up. O'Shea venturing a long way, Van Nistelrooy. The two centre-halves were tight on him. Scholes still got his shot away, but the deflection took the sting out of it. I mean, Wise and Wilkins have them well organised, right?
Yes, they certainly do, and it was little Dennis Wise who actually got that block in as Scholes came charging in to deliver a shot. And Scholes managed to get his body in the way of it and take all the pace off it and made it comfortable for Andy Marshall to deal with.
In goes Keane. Fairly lusty challenge there on Tim Cahill. Sweeney taking the kick quickly. How can they build something here? Harris is in the middle, so is Ifield. And Sylvestre just got his foot to the ball in time. And who's back there to mop up? Roy Keane.
Well, Neil Harris was very unlucky then, because Cahill got that space on the left-hand side, and when he delivered the ball, Neil Harris just slipped as he went to try and get in front of Sylvestre.
Now Ronaldo. Oh, wonderful stuff from the Portuguese young international. Free kick in the end. He's almost taking the mickey then.
Well, he was, and certainly Dennis Wise was having none of it. And I thought we'd done very well to get to 18 minutes without a real crunching tackle going in. And that was the first one. As soon as Ronaldo tried his tricks there, the next thing that came in was two crunching tackles, one of them from Dennis Wise, and all of a sudden we had the first situation where there was a sign of trouble. And Jeff Winter now talking to the two people concerned. Fletcher ran from 20 yards to push him in the back for no apparent reason whatsoever. That was silly. And I think Gary Neville's now telling the young lad, you need to calm down, because you've got to expect playing against Dennis Wise, he's going to put two tackles in, you're going to feel.
So Alex Ferguson once said he'd start a fight in an empty house, wouldn't he, Dennis Wise? He's that sort of character.
Attention please. Can I ask
well, it's certainly not empty in this stadium today.
Please sit down as much as possible. Think of the people behind you. Appreciate it.
Such a fiery customer, Wise, now organising his troops defensively, hoping they can get it right here. Ryan Giggs hovering over the ball. There is Ronaldo. Sylvestre came herring at the last moment there, and might have got a decisive touch too. Ronaldo, who the manager feels will go on to be a United legend.
Well, he struck it hard enough, and I thought initially that Phil Sylvestre, if he'd have thrown himself, might have got a touch, but when you see the replay, no, he's far too far away. Ronaldo hasn't struck it as much as he'd like to, and I'm sure if that had been on the goal, Marshall would have saved it anyway.
He's not short on confidence, is he, Ronaldo? But his form has really lifted throughout this season as he's found his feet in the English Premiership. No wonder he's so highly rated. Huge, huge prospect. Here's one of the old guard, Ryan Giggs. Giggs again. Just cleared away at the last moment then by Livermore. Worrying moment for Millwall. No breakthroughs yet for United.
Delightful play there by Fletcher though, wasn't it? A good ball in, but Livermore doing his job as a holding midfield player, getting back in there and helping the back four, and managed to get the clearance in.
Ronaldo's corner. O'Shea has just arrived in the middle. Van Nistelrooy making a nuisance of himself in the 6-yard box. A little spat there with Andy Marshall. Lawrence & Co keeping a really watchful eye on Van Nistelrooy. The first corner of the afternoon, the first corner of this FA Cup final. Was O'Shea on that near post, but the whistle's gone in Millwall's favour.
Yeah, quite right as well. Van Nistelrooy's job there was obviously to stop Andy Marshall coming out to try and attack the cross. And Matt Lawrence too. And you can see here, once the corner kick is taken, he just backs. There's all the movement beforehand. That was the trouble before. But when the actual cross comes in, there he goes, steps into him, pushes him back towards the goal, and that's where the free kick's given.
So the Londoners surviving thus far. To the frustration of Van Nistelrooy and Co. Such a big day for Millwall, a club who've been dragged down by a poor image in the past, but working really hard to attract the right kind of headlines. Well, they have this time in reaching this cup final, the first in their 119-year history. And so far, albeit mainly on the back foot, keeping Manchester United no less at bay. Here's Keane. On then to Scholes. Now Ryan Giggs. Young Elliott put himself in a bit of a tackle then. Here's O'Shea. Fletcher letting it run on to Keane, who's teed it up beautifully. But a fantastic save by Marshall. Really at full stretch then, just to flip it over the bar.
That was a great save, because when Keane hits it here, it's dipping all the way. It's going over the back of Marshall, and somehow not only does he get up, but stretches back and just gets his fingers. He just arches that body backwards and just gets the faintest of touches. That's over. Marvellous save by Andy Marshall there.
Well, such an instinctive strike by Roy Keane. It seemed to be heading for the top corner, and surely it would have done so but for Marshall's wonderful intervention. That was Cahill climbing high. Giggs to whip it back in again dangerously. Now here's Keane. Ronaldo. Away from Sweeney. Well, they doubled up on him in the end. Guess who's in the thick of the action? Dennis Wise.
Yes, and he wasn't following anything that Ronaldo was doing there. He was stepping over the ball, but Dennis just kept his eye on the ball and just shielded it out there for the corner kick.
His footwork is mesmerising though. Cristiano Ronaldo, only 19. Just think what he can go on to achieve. The likes of Neil Harris here, well, they don't just want to come here for the day out. Dennis Wise wouldn't stand for that. They are determined to do themselves justice. So far, they're doing so. Here is Harris. He really is a hard grafter. So too, of course, is Scholes, although he's been penalised here by Jeff Winter.
Now, I'm sure if somebody said to Dennis Wise before the game, you'll get to 23, 24 minutes and the score's still 0-0, and you've really only allowed Manchester United to have a couple of clear-cut opportunities. I mean, here we see the volley again. It's delightful skill. He just tees it up for himself there, and that's right in the top corner. That's a top quality save. But from Dennis's point of view and the team's point of view and the supporters' point of view, it's satisfactory so far.
Up goes Ward. Composed defending though by Mikhail Silvestre. Very much a fixture now for his country, France, as well as for Manchester United. Darren Ward on his way back. Now Livermore. Asking a lot of Sweeney down that left side. Sweeney, a 19-year-old. Here's Robbie Ryan. Sweeney again. He's got a decent left foot, this young fellow. Now Harris. Trying to fend off Wes Brown. Sweeney's right foot ball hit towards Eiffel. It's their best moment so far.
Well, they were very patient, weren't they? They didn't panic. They worked the opportunity. When the ball's come in there, there's a loud shout from our left-hand side for a penalty, but Silvestri definitely makes contact with the ball first. But good play by Millwall.
Certainly encouragement for them and for their travelling fans here in the Millennium Stadium. Wise has gone across, wanting to take on the responsibility, wanting to take charge. Now Sweeney. Was there an offside flag? No, it stayed down. Oh, the shot set for Cahill. A bit of a scare then for Manchester United.
That's an opportunity, and Cahill knows it. It's a delightful ball in there. Howard's flapping at it, just makes contact, but certainly it's half a chance there for Cahill. He'll be disappointed he didn't make better contact with that.
Worryingly for Sir Alex Ferguson, United defenders just stood around and watched.
Well, I was amazed. The two of them come over for a short corner kick, and they only sent one player out. They've got Van Nistelrooy back now to help out, but the corner previously they had two out, and United only sent the one player to try and defend against them.
Tim Cahill, who was really useful in the air, and a chest here for Tim Howard. He's up for the chance this time. I think to be the first American to win the FA Cup. Robbie Ryan. Millwall visibly lifted. Here's Eiffel. Fletcher making sure he made no real progress, but here's Harris. Millwall buoyant, their tails are up. After a period of having really to defend, suddenly Ray Wilkins' team were positive and offensive. They have a game plan. He doesn't care what it is as long as they win. Van Nistelrooy outsmarted though by Lawrence. Lawrence was a fullback under Mark McGee, the last manager. In came Dennis Wise and converted him to a centre half. Typically a cat-trick tackle then from Wise. Livermore's no slouch either. Now Ronaldo. Darren Ward just about coped with that. Aided by Ryan, and before that Livermore, who's on the ball now. Millwall defending doggedly.
Well, that shows the confidence that's grown in them. You know, they're in their own corner there. They're 5 or 6 yards from the goal line. They don't just boot it aimlessly. They actually try and play out the situation with 2 or 3 passes to create a bit of time to be a bit more constructive.
Well, it hasn't been a vintage season by any means for Manchester United, but they dare not risk not winning this final. No foregone conclusion so far. Paul Eiffel. Sweeney. He'll be off for the Scottish under-21s after this final. He hopes for some happy memories. Tim Cahill. He now, of course, is a full Australian international. After FIFA gave him clearance, he played for the Western Samoa team as a junior. It's only recently that he has got that clearance to play for the country he was born in. Gary Neville. In the bright sunshine of Cardiff, seeking out Van Nistelrooy. So too, though, was Darren Ward, Millwall's Player of the Year. Livermore. Did well then too, locating Harris. Here's Dennis Wise. Now O'Shea onto Mikhail Silvestre. Nothing really down the left ahead of him. Kicks had drifted infield. Here he is now. Flicked on by Van Nistelrooy. Beyond Scholes. I think Ryan just lost his bearing for a moment. It's Ronaldo, but into the side netting. Just wavering there a little though, Millwall.
Well, Dennis Wise is having to go at Andy Marshall quite rightly here. The ball's knocked in, and when the ball's flicked up, Robbie Ryan, the keeper, starts to come. Robbie Ryan expects him to come. Must have shouted, stop playing, and all of a sudden United have a chance, and certainly Dennis Wise had a quiet word, well, I'm not sure it was a quiet word, but certainly had a word with Andy Marshall about you've got to come and be dominant and deal with those situations.
No, Dennis doesn't do quiet.
No, I think not.
He's always the noisiest in the dressing room, and you will not curb his enthusiasm one iota. They're up for this game and they're doing okay. Nobody loves us is their motto, but we're in the final, so we don't care. Here's Roy Keane. Now that to Gary Neville. Van Nistelrooy. Ryan's boot was a little high then on Ronaldo. Livermore. Well, the previous pattern has been restored now. United dominating. But so far, Millwall not trouble all that often. Certainly that glorious effort from Roy Keane that very nearly produced the opener. O'Shea to Van Nistelrooy. Ward was tight on it, but here's Scholes now, releasing Giggs. And some excellent defending to eradicate the problem there from young Marvin Elliott.
Yes, he's going to have his hands full this afternoon, Marvin Elliott, but he did well, got his body in the way, stopped Giggsy getting the cross in, and just before that, I think Van Nistelrooy took some sort of blow which put him on his back.
Ronaldo, headed out by Elliott, not too far though, it was Scholes. Not one of his better efforts. His finishing so far has been rather wayward.
Now, I would think that Sir Alex would be disappointed in the number of set play situations they've had at the moment, and they've delivered 4 balls into the box. They've hit the first man every single time, and they've relied on them getting shots from the edge of the box, which so far have not been successful for them. But certainly the delivery of the ball from set plays has not been good by United standards so far.
Scholes so keen to impress today. He missed out on the '99 Champions League final and was aghast to learn that he very nearly missed his final. Had he been sent off in the game against Chelsea. So Alex Ferguson actually came to his rescue by taking him off, substituting him. Certainly in danger of receiving a second yellow the way he was playing. Roy Keane. Now it's Scholes. Wanting some movement around him, it's Fletcher here. And to Ronaldo, who has a free roll by the looks of things. Maybe not for long.
Now, I mean, that, to be fair to Millwall, that is a definite sign of frustration. Sir Alex doesn't look very happy there with Walter Smith at this moment in time. Ronaldo, there were other options on, but went for glory and was way wide with his shots, and it was a very poor effort. But that tends to happen when sides are getting frustrated and are not making clear-cut opportunities.
Ronaldo hasn't looked across at the bench, but he has gone back to the right wing. So I don't think he dared to incur the wrath of the referee there by engaging in any dialect with him.
I would have thought the right wing was the last place he needed to go to. That's by Sir Alex.
Free kick here to Millwall. We've got an idiot on the pitch at the other end. You won't be seeing him, I hope. And he won't be seeing the rest of the game. Actually struggling to keep him down. It's not Dennis Wise. No, it's not. Out of your picture at the moment. Jeff Winter is trying to get the game restarted, but it's taken about 3 stewards to keep this idiot in check. Ifill. Plenty to aim for in the middle. And Brown, well aware, I'm sure, of the presence of Sweeney, just letting it run out for a goal kick.
Well, when that ball was delivered in, I'm not sure if Cahill, who was behind Harris, might have had a better opportunity. It was Neil Harris that just got the little flick on. But again, the ball into the box hasn't created a clear opportunity for Millwall, but United have not cleared it comfortably.
Fletcher. Now then Ronaldo. John O'Shea down this United left. Ronaldo has gone sprinting ahead of him. It's Giggs here. Giggs, who I'm sure would have captained United today had Keane not played. A loose piece of defending then by Ryan, but he's got away with it. Helped by Lawrence. Very strong at the back so far in tandem with Ward. Ryan Giggs. 5th FA Cup final. But not put through then by Ronaldo. Here's Harris. Now Dennis Wise. The old chap, as Ray Wilkins calls him. Calls himself Mr. Misery. Fletcher. Being put under pressure then by Cahill. Typical Australian, he's abrasive and aggressive, Tim Cahill. Certainly deadly in the air if they can find him on some of these crosses. Neville. Dispossessed by Cahill. It will be a Millwall throw too. Cahill, who came to England as a 16-year-old from Sydney in Australia to make a name for himself in England. Well, he's doing so now. His parents had to take out a loan to find the airfare for him. Well, he's repaid them. No question about that. Now, Eiffel on a run. Harris is in the centre. Sweeney's in there too. Still Eiffel, who has an eye for goal. He's got 9 this season. Now Scholes on to Giggs. Certainly not the one-way contest we anticipated, Ray.
No, it's not. And as I say, you can see those little signs of frustration, misplaced passes there, misunderstanding between players. 1 or 2 little opportunities. Eiffel breaking through here. He's got a goal-scoring record, and all he can see now is, can I strike that across Tim Howard? Well, they get a good block in, but just 1 or 2 little chinks of light for Millwall at the moment, and certainly the more frustrated United get, the bigger the chinks will get.
And his contribution will certainly be a talking point in Barbados. Paul Eiffel, he's just been called up by them for their international team. Gary Neville. And it was casual then from Neville of all people. Just kept it by Elliott, but no more than that. Sylvestre to John O'Shea. Now Fletcher. The ball then to work it on to Keane. Gary Neville to Giggs. Just couldn't quite thread it on, but it's Fletcher in possession for United. Now going to get his cross away here. No, but it is a corner. Certainly in their last league game, the manager felt they were much more like the old United, but they haven't quite brought that kind of form into the final yet. Ryan Giggs with this corner kick. They're shading it on corners, but they haven't got a goal to show for it yet. Fletcher to Neville. O'Shea has stayed up, and Sylvestre. Here's Keane. Didn't fall though for Sylvestre, but no one upfield for Millwall. No matter, United have been repelled. That's the game plan, and just hope they can catch them on the break. They have had their moments so far of Millwall. Mikael Sylvestre to Scholes. Clever little ball that to Giggs. Almost linked up with Van Nistelrooy. Ball becomes Lawrence. Gets some sturdy defending by him. Just around about the same time last year that Arsenal went in front against Southampton through Robert Pires. Can United now emulate that feat? Here's Darren Fletcher. Again faced by a packed Millwall side though. Cahill trying to set something up on the counter. Not this time. Here's Brown to Fletcher. Now Keane, who's been saying this week he thinks Fletcher can go on to the very top of the game. Really rates him as a young player. Giggs, he's done it all, seen it all, worn the t-shirt. But out comes Dennis Wise, who's been around even longer. 37 now, the player manager. Keane. On to Fletcher, maybe some room to manoeuvre in here. Good delivery for Ronaldo. At least in finding him anyway. But some of United's passing not as cohesive or as slick as it normally is. Now pretty much unoccupied so far, just the odd moment he's been called upon. But Millwall won't mind that. Not while it stays like this. Roy Keane to Neville. Van Nistelrooy is the target. Difficult ball for him to deal with, but in goes Ronaldo. Surely this time off the line from Darren Ward. Heroic defending by him. Marshall was beaten.
Great clearance there. What a good defending that was. The opportunity comes this. Van Nistelrooy does well to flick it on, catches Elliott out. Ronaldo gets the shot in. Marshall gets the half clearance, but
now it's Scholes. Oh, very, very close. Certainly nearer than some of his earlier efforts. Well, Marshall so relieved though to see Darren Ward and his awareness behind him saving the day.
yeah, he just managed to take the pace off it enough there to allow Darren Ward to make the clearance, but it was still great defending to cover behind Marshall and help him to make the save.
Well, they work so hard on team spirit to Millwall. There's plenty of that in this side. Dennis Wise at the moment is cajoling those around him, having a chat with Tim Cahill. While Sir Alex Ferguson can only look on and wonder just when his team can break through, or indeed if they're going to. Gary Neville. Here's Keane, as ever, directing the traffic towards that Millwall goal. Van Nistelrooy. Goals this season, Van Nistelrooy. Not a sniff so far, though, in this one. O'Shea. On to Fletcher. There's very little room for error from Lawrence. United felt he did mistime that tackle, but Jeff Winter didn't think so.
Well, you always take a chance when he goes aground in those situations, and certainly he did take a chance, but he's got away with it.
Fletcher to Giggs. Now he's got the pace here to get away from Harris. Now it's Keane, and then Neville on the overlap. Danger looming here, surely in goes Ronaldo! And United lead. They've been hammering on the door. And relief for Sir Alex Ferguson. They had the first goal.
Well, what a time for them to score, 2 minutes before half-time. It really was. Millwall have done so well, but on this occasion they were outnumbered. Just watch Gary Neville coming into the picture down that far side. Bags of room, nobody can get out to him quick enough. Quality ball in there, and Ronaldo comes in. Eiffel hadn't picked him up. He got in front of him and had a free header, and having just had the chance before, he wasn't going to miss this one. But it was a delightful ball in by Gary Neville here, who had sneaked up on that far side, and there's Ronaldo coming in. 1-0.
Well, he has already produced some magical moments in this first half, Ronaldo. That's the best of them in terms of what it means to Manchester United and to Sir Alex Ferguson. The goal coming in the 44th minute. Gary Neville had far too much space down the right. He exploited it, and there was Ronaldo with the finish. Wise and Scholes have clashed in the centre of midfield. Here's Giggs racing away. The tackle was from Wise. Cahill. There'll be one more minute of added time. Phil couldn't get away from O'Shea. Suddenly it's a different story. Suddenly the United fans are in great voice. I wouldn't say those following Millwall are subdued. I don't think anything will subdue them. Certainly quieter though. Harris. What they wouldn't give now for a response here before half-time, Millwall. Ronaldo's 6th goal of the season. has been a threat, no question about it, to Millwall during this first 45 minutes. As he's underlined with his goal. Van Nistelrooy. Now Scholes. Ronaldo calling for it over on the far side. Here is Ronaldo. Sweeney chasing back, and he just clipped him there. United's free kick right at the end of the first half, if there's time. Just about. Just a little ticking off there for Sweeney from referee Winter. I think has refereed this game sensibly so far. Determined to go out on a high, why not? One of our better officials, for my money. Can't understand why he has to be retired off early. Scholes and Wise could not get any closer. You swap shirts after the game. There have been a few scuffles down the years. Well, who's pulling who? Any clues, Ray?
I think on that occasion certainly it was Dennis having a go at Scholesy there, and Scholesy didn't have any hesitation to go down, so it'll be very interesting now. This is obviously the last warning for the two of them here now.
They'd be well advised to keep clear of each other, but it won't happen. Ryan Giggs. Mayhem in the box. I think that's a wise decision by Jeff Winter to blow for half-time.
I think that was a very wise decision, but Dennis Wise and Ray Wilkins will be disappointed, because Millwall for 43, 44 minutes did extremely well there, frustrated United. They only had 2 or 3 opportunities in that first half, but then one slack piece of marking and all of a sudden they're 1-0 down, and now they do have a mountain to climb, because once United get in front, you just wonder where Millwall can score from.
Well, it's his goal that divides the two teams at half-time in the FA Cup final, set up by Gary Neville down that right side. They hadn't really tracked back with him, Millwall. And, well, he finished it very cleanly. It was too strong then for Marshall's left hand. So there we are. Manchester United are in front at half-time, but Millwall have done OK so far and are certainly not out of this cup final yet. But at half-time, it's Manchester United 1, Millwall 0.